Hello, Oracles. Well, we've got Tesla stock pushing up into earnings. What does this mean for earnings day? Are we going to run afterwards or are we going to sell off? We will get into that in a minute and we'll get into who has been buying Tesla stock over the last 6 months. All right, so looking at the stock this morning, we are up almost 1.5% pre market. We have been having this nice little run since we broke through that 123 level. Again, above us is this resistance level at 137. We'll see if we can break that today. If we can break that today, then we've got 150 above us from here. So we've got some analysts and others on the mainstream media thinking that we could push through that 150 level and get close to 180. So over 150, we do have a resistance level at 167. Not very strong, but there is a resistance level there. And then above that is that 180 level. So you guys can let me know what you think if we are going to get up there. And I would absolutely love to. And these are the levels that I look at. And again, we've talked about it many times when it comes to the stock price and the stock movements. Near term strictly is for trading only. When you are a long term holder, fundamentals always win out. And that's what the earnings report and the earnings call are going to be for on Wednesday. But for anyone who is curious as to which way we may move in the near term, I take a look at the charts. And it's just one of the few things. There's always sentiment and there's macro environment. There's a lot of other things that factor into the stock movements, even in the near term. But when I'm looking at it right now, I'm looking at the fact that we've got these levels here, and I use it kind of as a guide. So the level that we were waiting to see if we were going to break above or below was 123. And that was the level we held at for a while. We have now broken that. So now we're between that 123 and 137 range. So now we just pay attention from here. If we go above 137, then we focus on 150. If we don't break above 137, we go back to what we talked about when we were at that 313 level, when we hit that and we bounced off of it 3 times and then came down. So if we struggle to break through 137 and we bounce off of it hard several times, there's a chance that we will be coming down back to that 122 level. Again, just a guide, not dictating which way we are going to go one way or the other, just something to watch and pay attention to. And so now looking at the last 8 earnings that Tesla has had, Tesla has sold off 7 of the 8 times the day after. So again, we know that over the last 8 earnings, we've had some great news. The one time that we did not sell off after earnings was last July. And that there we knew was from Q2 when Shanghai was shut down. There was a lot of negative sentiment in not only Tesla, but the macro environment with the Ukraine Russia war, oil prices going up. So there was a lot of negativity already built into the stock at that time. And there were a lot of earnings that did well at that time as well. So what's going to happen this time around? Don't know. I mean, we've got some good fundamental news. Obviously, we can discuss expectations all day long. Is Tesla going to meet or beat expectations? As far as I'm concerned, if Tesla is growing nicely, that's the most important part. We are in a growth company. If this growth company is growing at a high growth rate, even if it's not to the expectations, it's still high growth. That to me is the important piece. And we know that this year is going to be a bit of a challenge with the headwinds, with the fact that we have the prices coming down on their vehicles. So, lots of different challenges. And this Wednesday, we will find out how Tesla is planning on navigating those challenges. And so, now when it comes to who is buying Tesla stock, Sawyer Merritt tweeted out an article from the Wall Street Journal. After a brutal year for tech stocks, retail investors have lost their appetite for buying the dip, with one notable exception. They're still scooping up shares of Tesla. Retails spent more money on Tesla in the past 6 months than in the 5 years prior, Vanda found. And as we can see here, here's the retail tech basket. They had this large spike here and then basically sold off while Tesla and all the retail investors were buying up here. Now, in the very short term, since the beginning of the year, there's been both climbing up, but there was this long run. And quite honestly, that was a lot of us, not to say that we were all the main volume that was in all of that, but there was a lot of retail buying going on over the last 6 months. So, all this noise and stuff that we talk about and causing negative sentiment in the market and in Tesla stock itself, when it comes to Elon and Twitter and all sorts of things, seems like there was a majority of retail investors who loved that noise and they decided to get themselves some TSLA fudge. And when they saw that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, they grabbed some extra. And so that's going to give them a good solid foundation because, again, Moody's is most likely going to be giving their upgrade. Alexandra seems to think that we might actually get that today. So, if we do get it today ahead of earnings, that would be awesome. And then again, going on over the course of this year, usually once we see that investment grade rating, we see big institutions coming in with their money, and it's kind of a slow progress over 6 to 12 to 18 months. So now is that time for retail investors to get in. This is not financial advice. I'm not saying you should buy Tesla stock, but what I'm saying is that there's a lot of institutions who will be buying. And when they buy, the stock price will naturally go up as they buy. That is going to give a more solid floor for the stock price, thereby giving us less opportunities down at lower levels to be able to buy. We don't know what's going to happen. There may be another pullback coming. I don't know. Again, I'll get into gaps later, but there's a couple of gaps that are below us. We might get one more pullback when we get to a point where we're like, oh, are we in deflationary times? Are we going to be seeing a bigger recession? Is that fear actually baked into the stock and the stock price now? We don't know. So these are just the unknowns. I still want to be ready and prepared to take advantage of any opportunities if they do present themselves. I am not at a FOMO moment yet. I do love this run that we are seeing in the stock, but I'm not at a point where I think that we're just never going to come back to these levels. I think this is a nice run. I think we might see a continued run if we don't sell off after earnings, but I just want to be careful and protect myself as well. Because again, going back to the charts, which some people don't agree with, but I mean, every single gap that we had from 313 down to where we are right now was called and filled. So just something to think about in the near term. But again, long term, I'm totally fine. And I still hold my thesis saying that anybody who bought under $1,000 was buying themselves at a nice discount. And now we're well below that point. So I still think anybody who's holding for 5 to 10 years is going to do perfectly fine on their purchases. Again, I can be totally wrong, but that's just my opinion. And now some news that literally just popped up 5 minutes ago while I was on here recording. We've got Zhongwen 2005 over on Twitter saying subsidized new energy vehicles are going to be receiving 3,000 yuan each starting January 22nd. And so I will pay attention and try to get more details on this for you guys later, but it sounds like there may be subsidies coming for new energy vehicles over in China. Now, new energy vehicles do include hybrids, so it's not going to be the battery electric vehicles, it's new electric vehicles. But again, that's what we are also seeing here in the US with the EV tax credit, where unfortunately hybrids do qualify for that. So looks like we are seeing something similar over in China. But again, I will get more details on that for you guys later. And the last piece to look at here is we have been paying attention to inventory levels and how these price cuts in the US have been affecting sales. So Tesla Chan coming out here saying Model Y sales in Q1 of 23 will be impressive. So yes, we have seen these inventory levels come down significantly. Over the weekend, I noticed that in my area, when it comes to Model Y, all of the vehicles that are in inventory are ones that do not qualify for the EV tax credit. The Model 3, on the other hand, is a little bit of a different story. Seems like the Model Y is kind of cannibalizing some of the Model 3. There were a good chunk of Model 3s still available that are eligible for the EV tax credit. So, again, I don't know if anything is going to change with the IRS in March, but I do think that we are going to end up seeing some more price cuts coming in that March to April timeframe. Whether it's going to be both from the Model Y and the Model 3, or just the Model 3 has yet to be seen. But again, those Model Ys that are not qualifying for the EV tax credit, I have a feeling Tesla is going to be dropping the price on the Model Y by about $3,000 more so that people can put on all the hardware. So looking at the fine print, anything hardware wise that is in the vehicle itself is going to affect the EV tax credit. Software does not. So if you want to add enhanced autopilot or FSD, those do not affect the EV tax credit. So you can put those on all day long, does not matter. But if you're going to change the wheels or the paint, or if you're going to add anything else hardware wise, that will change it. So again, if Tesla comes down by about $3,000 on the Model Y, that means that all of their vehicles will qualify. The performance is a little bit different because it currently does not qualify, so they may have to come down more on that price just so they can have the other options for hardware added on. But again, this is something that we will have to pay attention to, and maybe they do a bigger hit for the Model 3. Maybe this is what Project Highland is for. maybe once Project Highland is up and running, that is going to lower the cost significantly on the Model 3s. And this is why they have been focused on just that, because they know that they need to come down on that price, which who knows what that's going to do to cost, because if that's going to significantly drop the cost, they may come down another $10,000 on the Model 3, which would be absolutely insane. Because then think about it, everybody who's been screaming that Tesla needs a vehicle at $30,000, now even here in the US, we would be seeing one like that with the Model 3. Again, that's just my speculation, and you guys can let me know in the comments below what you think. But seeing these sales coming in is looking very good. So, you can give me your predictions for what we think we are going to be seeing for deliveries in Q4. I think we're going to be pushing that 450,000 vehicle delivery range. I think it's going to be some very nice growth. That's a little bit over 10% growth quarter over quarter. I think that's absolutely outstanding. So, again, you guys can let me know about that one. Let me know how you feel about earnings. Do you think that when we get into earnings, we are going to sell off the day after? Or do you think that we are going to run the day after? You guys can let me know your thoughts on that one. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for your support. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and we will see you in the next one.